18th century Russia. The only thing more dangerous than being the emperor was not being the emperor, and the only thing unifying Russia's political landscape was its total lack of unity. Yet, among all this, one woman found herself ruling for decades, bringing the Enlightenment to the Russian court, and even teaching the rest of Europe a thing or two about progress. More progressive than Elizabeth, less murderous than Peter the Great, Catherine the Great was on a quest to bring Russia into a new era, and have a little fun doing it. Welcome back to Nutty History. Today we're learning about Catherine the Great, usurper, patron of the arts, hoarder of books, terrible mother, sought-after lover, and friend to philosophers everywhere. Let's dig in. The first weird fact about Catherine, the Russian Empress, is that she wasn't Russian, and her name wasn't Catherine, not originally. Her real name was Sophie Friederike Augusta van Anhalt-Zerbst. Talk about a mouthful. Her family was poor, but she was not exactly a nobody. She had a link to the Rurik dynasty, which preceded the Romanovs, and may have helped her appear suitable for rule. In Russia, the empire was ruled by Elizabeth, the daughter of Peter the Great, who had risen to power through a coup. She was trying to prepare her nephew Peter III to be the next ruler of Russia, and that meant finding him a suitable bride. Elizabeth had once been engaged to Catherine's uncle and felt a lingering connection to the family, so she selected Catherine for the job, who was only 16. Catherine hated Peter right away. She thought him a drunk, a bore, and while she admitted that he was not stupid, she thought he had no common sense. The antipathy was mutual. That was the last time Peter would let his aunt pick a wife for him without checking the return policy first. When Peter was at one end of the castle, Catherine would make sure she was always at the other, and Peter seemed to be more preoccupied with toy soldiers and lovers than with Catherine. Catherine's main job, as was usually the case with royal wives, was to bear Peter an heir. However, for 8 years they remained childless, though Peter himself was rather juvenile, so maybe Catherine felt she already had a child on her hands. They also both had affairs, and Catherine eventually had 4 children, though at most Peter may have sired one of them. Peter came to power after Elizabeth died. His first order of business was to end the 7 Years' War with Prussia. After all, Peter had been raised in Prussia and seemed to have been rooting for Team Prussia throughout his youth. The Frederick posters on his wall might have been a clue. Pulling out of the war, however, turned out to be an unpopular move, especially with the military higher-ups. With this discontent, Catherine started to plan her coup. Eventually, in 1762, her plot was discovered, which meant Catherine had to make her move. It was successful, and she had herself declared Empress. Peter abdicated without a fight, and, as Frederick the Great of Prussia remarked, he accepted his deposition like a child being sent to his room. He only had been Tsar for 6 months after taking over from his aunt Elizabeth. Peter was assassinated shortly after, and though there is no definite evidence that Catherine was behind it, he had been in the care of one of her co-conspirators at the time. It was a short, disastrous, and ultimately fatal step into leadership for Peter. So what did Catherine get into while she was in power? What did it mean for Russia? Well, one thing she did really summarize the kind of leader Catherine wanted to be was nakaz. Nakaz was a document she created which aimed to outlaw capital punishment and torture, and to declare all men equal. She also wanted to change the situation of serfs who lived miserable lives under the ownership of landowners. The Senate was opposed to all of these changes, and the document didn't have any immediate influence, but ultimately became known for its ideas. In many ways, that effort reflected her career. Despite her efforts for reform, much of what Catherine accomplished was an importation of ideas, and she was perhaps more emblematic than politically effective. Catherine was also co-founder of the Smolny Institute for Noble Maidens. The institute was actually the first state-financed higher education school for women in Europe. Perhaps the thing that Catherine was best known for was being a dedicated patron of the arts, collecting huge amounts of artwork, funding many programs, and building a theater in St. Petersburg. Catherine also wrote books and even wrote the libretto for an opera. She also spoke 3 languages: German, French, and Russian. According to her letters, she was close friends with Voltaire, who had written a biography of Peter the Great. Voltaire praised her leadership style by calling her an enlightened despot, and was apparently so fond of her that he kept a portrait of her in front of his bed. Though the two never met, they carried on as rather intimate pen pals. She had a collection of 44,000 books, including 6,760 volumes that she bought from Voltaire's niece after his death. One prominent feather in Catherine's cap was her successful expansion of Russia's empire. During her reign, she added 200,000 square miles of new territory to the empire. In a move that must have been at least a little embarrassing, the British came to Catherine for help during the American Revolution. With the new and powerful Russia 2.0 on their side, surely they could quash these American upstarts for once and for all. Catherine, though, had no interest whatsoever, and so thanks to Catherine's solidarity with a fledgling nation, the United States and Russia had a beautiful friendship and lived happily ever after as BFFs. But, of course, it was still Russia, and the throne was a precarious place to sit. There was a number of uprisings during Catherine's reign. Perhaps the strangest of them was an uprising of Russia's lowest class led by a Cossack named Pugachev. What was strange about it? Well, he gained a great deal of support by claiming that he was Peter III, coming to claim his rightful throne. That's right, he pretended to be a dead emperor, and everyone just went along with it. Talk about confidence! This guy must have killed at job interviews. Not surprisingly, this story doesn't end with a Peter III knockoff taking the throne. Sort of like what you get when you order a Peter III on Wish. Catherine quashed the uprising, as she had done with over a dozen others, and Pugachev was publicly executed. Maybe it's fair to assume that Catherine was not a big fan of his Peter impression. Catherine's famous moniker can be traced back to one act of generosity to an impoverished philosopher. French philosopher Diderot was in dire straits. He had to pay a dowry for his daughter's marriage and was, sadly, broke. So he put his book collection up for sale. In Russia, Catherine had been an admirer of Diderot, and she paid a small fortune for his books, the equivalent of $150,000 today. But not only that, she also asked Diderot to hold on to them for her until she needed them, and she paid him an annual salary as her librarian. The two would later become close friends. He eventually made a trip out to Russia, and they had frequent meetings to discuss philosophy and politics. It was Diderot who dubbed Catherine the Great. Catherine's life had always been the subject of rumors, intrigue, and speculation, and her death was not any different. Many cruel stories about how she died surfaced, but the one that stood the test of time is that she died while attempting intercourse with a horse, or interhorse for short. See what I did there? What a nightmare. But let's settle this once and for all. See what I did there again? Catherine met with no such end. Not to be a naysayer, but her real death was much more pedestrian than less equestrian. She died of a stroke. Ultimately, Catherine was Russia's longest ruling female leader, spending the last 3 decades of her life as Empress of Russia. Catherine the Great remains one of history's most compelling figures. There are many ways to portray her: a hedonistic, power-hungry usurper, or an enlightened, progressive, artsy visionary. What weird fact surprised you the most about Catherine the Great? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nutty History.